Hello everybody and welcome to another character analysis video. We are going to be doing the man himself today. I cannot avoid doing this even if I wanted to. I don't want to avoid it, but we'll go ahead and do this. My opinion of this person I will probably, I'd imagine, that I am in a position where my opinion of this gentleman is one that many people will disagree with, but I don't care. It's my opinion, and you're all wrong. I'm just kidding. That's not how that works. But of course, we're doing Donald Trump, D-H-A-D, Donald John Trump. Say that 5 times fast. So, I don't need to introduce Donald Trump like I did Marco Rubio in my last video. I can just jump right into this. My opinion of Donald Trump is, to just get it right out the start, it's favorable. My opinion of him is favorable, or at least more favorable than unfavorable. And the problem is that I find that Donald Trump has walked back on too many of his promises. Is my biggest problem with Donald Trump. The stuff that he says is, oh, and by the way, I should actually start out by saying this. Personality-wise, a lot of people seem to say that when it comes to electing a man for office, personality has got absolutely nothing to do with who you're voting for, and I think that is ridiculous. I think that personality, what you say, how you present yourself, how articulate you are, even to some degree what the general population thinks of you, all of that are definitely things that you should take into consideration before voting for somebody. Those are all very important. They're just not as important as the policies and the standards that people run on when they're running. So I don't really mind. I'm not like some huge fan of Donald Trump's demeanor and all that. I'm also not like this, hate it. Like, if he wants to be kind of more trolly and funny and arrogant and kind of rude and pompous, that's not something that's necessarily a bad thing in a politician. Now, in a person, I would confront, I would not like a person if he was my neighbor and he behaved like that. I probably wouldn't like him very much. But for a president to be tough that's not a bad thing in and of itself. It just depends on how one presents himself. And so I do think that Donald Trump does not necessarily always present himself in the appropriate manner. But that's only a minor part of when you're voting for somebody. The big part is, of course, the policies and the standards. And so, really, with Trump, a lot of the things that he says, I agree with, but then a lot of the things that he does, I disagree with and find disappointing that he's walking back. So, for example, I imagine that a lot of you watching this are probably going to agree with me, was really excited to vote for Donald Trump, particularly in 2024. I was 16 in 2016. I couldn't vote for him. I would have, though, if I could have. In 2020, I did vote for him, even though he was seemed like a different person back then. But fast forward 4 years, and the last year leading up to the election, he really started to act like a totally different person, and seemed like his policies and stances really changed for the better. I'm sure many of you would agree, like, for example, him adding RFK to the HHS secretary, adding Tulsi Gabbard to the team, talking about releasing the Epstein files, actually talking about deporting all of the illegal immigrants, going after the criminals, banning men and women's sports. He was talking about all these things that he didn't talk about in the first few times he ran. And it was like, wow. And then you vote for the guy, and he doesn't, the problem is he still hasn't done. Now, something that's very important to mention, I should mention this right now, is as I'm recording this, it's September the 26th, meaning that he has been in office for very much May, June, July, August, for 8 months in a 4-year term. So it's not like it's over. He's got 3 years and 3 months to change, to start doing a lot of the things that he's done. And of course, he's accomplished some good things. So let me start from the beginning. So far, his biggest accomplishment has been the Big Beautiful Bill. Now, what do I think about the Big Beautiful Bill? I should probably talk about that in a Q talk and not in the character analysis, but if I'm going to analyze Donald Trump, I got to talk about his policy. So the Big Beautiful Bill is, I agree with many of the aspects in it, and I don't agree with many of the aspects in it. The biggest thing I agree with that was in the Big Beautiful Bill was all of the immigration stuff. I thought all that stuff was great. More funding for border security, more funding for ICE, all that is great. And then some of the economy stuff, like no tax on overtime, I thought was pretty good. But that's about it. I don't think that no tax on tip is good. The tax cuts are good for me, but why do you have to include, the wealthy in those tax cuts? I don't understand. There were obviously cuts for Medicaid and SNAP. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with cutting Medicaid. I do agree with cutting SNAP for people who are getting freaking junk food, but not just for, in general, cutting SNAP so that you can make room for other stuff. I strongly disagree with the Golden or Iron Dome, whatever the heck it was called, more money for defense. I almost thought that Trump a couple months back said that he was going to cut defense spending, and I got all excited about that, and then he just totally went back on that and added a crap ton of money to defense spending, and it was very disappointing. So, some good and some bad in that bill. The number of deportations is very low. I think it was at 750,000. It is true that the number of people who have crossed the border has come to a screeching halt under Trump, which is good. And the number of self-deportations, which is the cheapest and best method, has gone up a lot. But as far as rounding people up and actually deporting them, 750,000 is bad. That's a bad number. It should be in the millions, minimum. And it's only 750,000, which is not good. I'm going to pull in and talk for a little bit longer because I'm not done. And so, crime is another one. What he did in D.C. was awesome. And I just don't understand why he has not done that with other cities. He's been talking for weeks about how he's going to do that in Chicago and other cities. Why have you not done that? Is there not enough people to send? Do that in every single city. Do it in the states that the governors are Republicans that will actually help you. Like, for example, Baton Rouge. I mean, Baton Rouge is literally the perfect place to do this. Baton Rouge is in a state that is ultra conservative, Republican governor. The mayor of Baton Rouge for 20 years has been a Democrat, and this past year they finally elected a Republican for this issue, for the issue of crime, to fix the crime, because the crime has gotten so out of control in Baton Rouge that literally he would help you, the governor would help you. It's the perfect city to do that in. And there's not a peep has anybody been talking about doing that. Why not? Why are we not sending the National Guard to Baton Rouge and cleaning the cities up? That would be perfect. Go and do that. The defense spending is ridiculous. I completely disagree with the defense spending, utterly. The foreign aid is another one. I thought he was going to cut foreign aid. He did not do that. He's still giving a lot of money to Israel. All of our money away is being funneled to Israel. So much money. And that shows no sign of stopping. It seemed like he would put his foot down with Ukraine and maybe even for a minute or two, I thought he was even going to get a peace deal done. And then just this past week, totally turned around and walked back on that, started going after Russia and being totally behind the back of Ukraine. That's terrible. Okay, Ukraine is not winning that war. They're not without ground troops anyway. Obviously, you're not going to win a war against Russia without ground troops. And so I don't understand why he's cozying up to Ukraine. It's a terrible country, and they're retarded. So, plus, most importantly, they're not America. So why should I care about them? I mean, I care about their people, but I'm talking about the country itself. Why should I care about that? Whether it's controlled by Putin or Zelensky, who cares? So I was about to say I could go on. I'll mention a few more. Well, I'm tired, so I can't think of any others. But yeah, so overall, he's gotten a lot of accomplishments done. So that's all the negatives. What has he accomplished? Well, I talked about self-deportations and the border security being high. What he did in D.C. was obviously great. You know, I do agree with some of the stuff in the Big Beautiful Bill. I do agree with him. It seems like he's being more tough on some of this foreign country stuff, just not as tough as I wish he would be. That's really my main issue so far with Donald Trump. Is I don't see any reason why he can't just do it, just be harder, right? You know, send the National Guard into the cities, deport all the immigrants, just do it. You have the mandate. You said you were going to do it, so just do it. I don't see why you can't. So, and so if Donald Trump is not going to do that, I don't really see J.D. Vance doing it. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's kind of my analysis and opinion of Donald Trump. Please type in the comments your angry, bitter comments at me, at my opinion of that. Like, share, and subscribe, all that stuff. God bless to everybody. Hope you have a great day. I'm tired, so this will be the last one I do for today. Might do one tomorrow. Might take a break. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. So, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.